There are names in Disney history that feel carved into the studio's very foundation. John Lounsbery, Marc Davis, Ward Kimball, Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnston, and the rest of Walt's so-called Nine Old Men. Their reputations are so towering that they've become shorthand for the golden age of animation itself. But every so often, history leaves someone standing just outside the circle who deserves to be invited in. Someone whose influence was so profound, so unmistakable, that the story feels incomplete without them. This episode of Walt's Wisdom is about one such artist, a woman whose colors reshaped the emotional vocabulary of Disney animation, a designer whose imagination still echoes through the parks today. This is the case for elevating Mary Blair to the status of Walt Disney's 10th old man. Mary Blair arrived at the Disney studio in the early 1940s, just as the company was entering one of its most turbulent periods. The war had disrupted production, budgets were tight, and Walt was searching for a new artistic spark. He found it in Mary. Her early work on Saludos Amigos and the Three Caballeros stunned Walt with its bold color harmonies and emotional clarity. While other artists were still working in the lush, painterly style of the 1930s, Mary was pushing forward towards abstraction, shapes distilled to their essence, and colors that carried the emotional weight of entire scenes. Walt saw something in her that he rarely found, an artist who could make the unreal feel emotionally true. Animator Marc Davis later said that Mary's color sense was unlike anything anyone else was doing. And Frank Thomas recalled how Walt would hold up her concept paintings and tell the animators, "This is what I want the picture to look like." Coming from Walt, that wasn't just a suggestion. The nine old men respected her, not just as a colleague, but as a creative force. Ollie Johnston once described her work as pure magic, and Ward Kimball, never one to hand out easy praise, called her a modernist before the studio even knew it needed one. They understood that Mary wasn't competing with them. She was expanding the vocabulary they worked in. Her ideas didn't replace animation, they elevated it. Her influence reached its peak during the production of Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, and Peter Pan. Even when the final films softened or adapted her style, the emotional palette was unmistakably hers. The dreamy pastels of Cinderella's transformation, the surreal whimsy of Wonderland, the tropical warmth of Neverland. These weren't just backgrounds, they were emotional environments shaped by Mary's imagination. Walt brought Mary on the famous 1941 Goodwill Tour to South America, a trip that shaped the studio's artistic direction for years. He also brought her back in the 1960s, long after she had left animation, to design the look of It's a Small World for the 1964 World's Fair. That attraction, still one of the most beloved in Disney parks worldwide, is Mary Blair distilled to its purest form. Bold shapes, joyful colors, and a childlike sincerity that feels both modern and timeless. Relationship with Walt was built on mutual admiration. Walt once said that Mary knew how to get to the heart of a story with just a few colors, and he defended her fiercely when others questioned her unconventional style. Today, Mary Blair's influence is everywhere. You see it in the stylized color blocking of modern Disney films, like this Encanto concept art from Lorelei Beauvais. You see it in the murals at the Contemporary Resort, a work that I find simply breathtaking, in the design language of Fantasyland, and in every iteration of It's a Small World across the globe. Her work has become part of the emotional DNA of Disney itself. And yet, despite all this, she has never been counted among Walt's 9 old men. Perhaps it's because she wasn't an animator. Perhaps it's because she was a woman in a male dominated studio. But if the 9 old men represent the pillars of Disney animation, then Mary Blair is the stained glass window that lets the light in. She shaped the look, the tone, and the emotional resonance of some of Disney's most iconic films. She inspired the animators who inspired generations. She created a visual language that still guides the studio today. So maybe it's time to expand the circle. Maybe it's time to acknowledge that the story of Disney's golden age isn't complete without her. Maybe it's time to say proudly and without hesitation that Mary Blair deserves a place among Walt's greatest creative legends. Not as an asterisk, not as an honorary mention, but as the 10th old man. Thanks for watching. Please let me know if you agree in the comments below. I hope you will consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons to help our channel.